Hello, my name is Brandi Hofer, your host and founder of Color Me Happy, a community podcast and book, all of which I started in my in-home studio whilst in the throes of motherhood. I am an artist, author, educator, and mother to 3 beautiful boys. We live and create together in our in-home studio that is tucked away in the quiet Canadian prairies. Our podcast and community was built to empower and inspire. We chat about everything from motherhood, the art world, business, and health in the most honest and authentic way. It's totally unedited and unfiltered. If you love what we do here, become a part of our free community, Color Me Happy. We have grown the community to support our members with features and interviews. Our link is in the notes. Thank you for being here. I sure do appreciate your time. Hello, my beautiful friend. Welcome to Color Me Happy podcast. My name is Brandi Hofer. Thank you so much for being here. I super appreciate your time. I was running this morning and I noticed that the leaves in the park, most of them the trees have finally let go of their leaves. And it had me thinking about us sitting down and taking the time in our lives. And I figure this out a lot in yoga, a time where my mind is a bit quieter. I've been finally making time. I was doing yoga at home because of COVID and everything. And I'm finally rethinking that I actually need to exit my space to find full, what am I trying to describe? Full body awareness and mind awareness. And so I went to the Oasis noodle night because you get to do yoga and then eat East Market Noodle House after. So Gus actually came with me again and he cried because he thought he also got to eat noodles every time you go to yoga, which was hilarious. But he's a little athlete, so he actually has gone 3 times since then. He really loves it. He loves hockey, and I think he's not overly flexible, I would say. But he's really naturally athletic, so I think it will help him be more body aware and just have that extra flexibility that will help him not get injured or... Wow, this is taking a turn. Sorry. But that's what yoga does. But for me, he hasn't been going with me. My sister owns a studio, so he can just go, which is amazing for him. And I've been going alone, and I love it because it helps me come up with new ideas because it's leaving that blank space, that fully awareness thing. And actually, my sister was running the class, and she took us through a full-on guided meditation at the end. So this is going to sound super weird, but it freaking worked. And as soon as she's like, I'm going to walk you through a guided meditation, I was like, okay. And she led us to this waterfall in the woods. And I know this sounds all hippy dippy. I love the line from the Lego movie. It's hippy dippy bullshit. But seriously, I'm starting to believe in it because it works so well. I do believe in it because it does work really well. Not starting to think. I know it works so well. I've done lots of mindset work, and if you write something down and really resonate on it and it's true for you, this shit works. It happens. I was like, I want this person on my podcast. And then it happened. And I was like, okay, I want this person then. And so on and so forth. And it's just hilarious how it works. And so she led us, and she's like, this deer pops out of the woods and the deer's going to say something to you. And it said something to me, and I was like, I have sat with it for a week now. And I was like, that is the advice I needed. But she brought it out of a well of my inner self through a guided meditation. Anyway, I'm so happy to be back in the studio. It feels awesome. And it's helping me, just like the trees letting go of their leaves. They know they're no longer serving them. They need to get through the winter. They've absorbed all their nutrition, which, by the way, I got geeky into a tree book once while waiting for a coffee in Victoria. But they're letting go, and it spoke about why trees let go and why some trees don't at what time. but the trees are starting to let go. And I want you to think about some things in your life that you could let go of, and that are really no longer serving you at this point in your life, and why you're holding on to them so hard. Because when you're holding on to them, they're holding you back. And in the tree's case, it's going to kill them in the winter if they don't let go of them. So think about that. And I think it really leads into, well, what the deer said. And the deer said, oh my gosh, this is such a hilarious podcast episode. And weird. So sorry. Thank you for being here. The deer said, this doesn't have to be hard. She said, it's not supposed to be hard. And I feel like I was hanging on and like clutching so tightly to everything. And it's like, you're supposed to be having fun. That's why you're doing all this stuff that brings you the joy. You're not supposed to be stressing through it, right? So let go of what's no longer serving you. Let your leaves fall off and trust that you will get through this winter. There, I put it into a fully tangible sentence that you can understand, I think. But it's perfect because it leads me into my guest, who I just came off interviewing. She is amazing, Ilissa, and she also has Ilissa and Co. And she writes this beautiful book called Leaving Numb, which is her beautiful journey, but also empowers the reader through her guidance and experience. And I can't wait to read it, because I know there'll be tons to take away, because I've heard Ilissa's story, but you'll learn a lot more about her right now. And she's a part of our Color Me Happy community. Feel free to join. It's where we support creatives and alike, and that can mean so many things. That's a huge umbrella, because when we support each other, we all rise. So I hope to see you there, and we will chat soon, my friend.
Also, yeah. Anyway, yeah. I was thinking about, while I was running, and I was thinking about our interview. I think I'm going to put it up right today.
Yeah.
Because it's fall, and I know some of your story, and you've been on our podcast before and have told parts of it. And I thought it was like the trees are finally letting go of their leaves.
Yeah.
So shedding what we no longer need. Yeah. And holding on to the things that we do need.
Yeah.
And that will take us through this time of life. So that's kind of what I wanted the theme to be today. And of course, you have your amazing new book.
Yes.
So welcome, Ilissa.
Awesome. Thanks. Excited to be here.
Yeah. So how did you, because writing books is hard, like super duper hard. When were you like, I think I'm going to do this? I have something to say. I want to inspire other people, and I want to share my voice.
Yes. So I am very much a percolator, Brandi. Like, I kind of like will get an idea, and it's not that I like am perfecting it. I'm just like, I'm letting the pieces kind of fall into place. So really, like years ago, I just kind of was like, yeah, at some point I'm going to like write a book. And like, I just knew it was like a thing for me. And so then last year, kind of the title just randomly came to me, and it's called Now Leaving Numb. And it talks really about kind of my journey through emotional addiction, and then kind of how I work with entrepreneurs in getting like their authentic self out into the world, to really make them shine. And so last year had the name, and then in kind of December-ish of that year, I had this idea. I don't know if you are familiar with the book, the kids' book, The Phantom Toll Booth. Did you ever read this as a kid? So in the beginning of The Phantom Toll Booth, there is this like hand-drawn like cartoon map that kind of like walks through the book. And I was always just kind of like, as a kid, obsessed with this like cool map in the beginning of the book. And it just like, I think made sense to me to have this like visualization of the actual, like it's a chapter book, right? So like then the words are just words. So I was like, you know what would be cool is like if I had this map of my journey through like what I went through and just kind of like illustrating that for people. And because I think it's so powerful to see like the cycle that we all kind of go through, either through any sort of kind of addiction or just life. I think so many people relate to it when they see it. And so January came, I worked with a local illustrator on the map, who was amazing. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. And then I started writing. So, and it flowed from there. But now we have a completed book. Thank God it is done.
I know. The last bits of like editing and layout are the most challenging. I would say like the writing part, the mind dumping is really fun.
Yes.
Like even the illustration and coming up with the cover and themes and all that. Fun.
Yeah, fun. Yeah, exactly.
Who says this? Brian Baumler, the like House of Brian and Island of Brian, like from HGTV.
Yeah.
He says, and my assistant always, or my studio manager, she's always like, you know what Brian says, the last 5% is 95% of the job.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that. It is like the hardest part. And it's great because my husband, in fact, I'm looking out on the deck, literally the last planter on the deck isn't stained and has 3 boards missing from it. Like, you couldn't just finish that last little bit, like call it a day, like for 3 years or more than that.
Close. Yep.
10 years.
It was so close to done, right?
Also stained the deck multiple times, so I don't know why the last little fucking bit.
Little piece.
Can't do it. It's amazing. Like, what is that in human nature that like it is? I even have like a many incompleted art pieces like sitting there.
Yes.
Dude, put on the last little doodle.
Yes. We should look at your human design chart someday because like it was interesting this summer. I was like taking this class about human design and how to market your business like the best way through your human design. And she was looking at my chart.
An Enneagram.
It's kind of like the Enneagram, but not. So it's like basically like it's kind of an overlapping of like astrology, some other things. It's based on like where you were born, the time, place, all of that. So, but she like looked at my chart, and then I was looking at my chart through the class, and I'm like, one of the loops, one of the things I have in there is that I have a lot of like basically unfinished business that I don't like closed loops. Like I like open stories. I was like, this makes a lot of sense. Like a lot of open loops, or like, like I'm not someone who like goes around blocking people. Like I'm just like, the story is still open, like, all these open loops. So very interesting though with the projects because I run into the same thing. Yep.
What's that lady's name?
Nicole Gangloff is her name. Yeah, she's amazing. She's like European. She travels all over the place. She's really, really cool. She works particularly with projectors, which is a type of human design. But she started doing some classes now for all types. So there's 5 types of human design. But I would be interested to see your chart and find out what you are. So
I wonder if she would go on a podcast.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
People will.
Yeah.
There is something from where the like, isn't it where the moon is on the time of the day you were born or something like that? Isn't it?
That could be part of it. Yeah, it basically shows like all kind of the planets in your chart and all kinds of stuff. But it's like
it's not just like you were born in a certain whatever and you're
right.
Sagittarius or whatever.
Yeah, no, it talks about like how kind of like the energies move through your different systems. So like your throat chakra, your gut, sacral, like all kinds of stuff. And it's been extraordinarily eye-opening for me to see a lot of times like where like I'm trying to force things to happen because like you think of them as like I'm supposed to be doing this, right? And then you're like, that was totally out of alignment of what I should have been doing. And then it all flows easily when you start like looking at things from, these different angles. So yeah.
We did have an Enneagram coach come on, and she walked Anna Panic. She's local actually, and she walked us through each
Yes.
one.
Yes.
I was like, do people sometimes not like what they are? Or have trouble coming to terms with what they are? She's like, yes, that happens often. I was like, that's definitely me.
Yeah.
I wanted to be like, ooh, caring.
Yes.
Something like nice.
Yes.
Turns out just the one who wants to be seen and heard. I was like, cool.
Yes.
Wow. Yes. The more you know, I think the more you can find. And you're not just one, by the way, in an Enneagram. You're like many. You have wings or something. It's called. So you're kind of a mixed bag.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're all more than one thing, but when you know, you are more powerful because you have this awareness and intention behind the things that you do, and the ability to choose to say no, being like, I don't think that's going to work for me.
Yes, exactly. It makes like so much sense. And, for me, like the human design stuff, so I'm a projector. So like a projector, you want to kind of think of it as like a lighthouse, right? Like I'm like full of wisdom, but I want people to like ask me for that wisdom. I can't just like give it freely, because then if I give it freely and you don't like take it, then my inner self is really like pissed about it, because I'm like, I freaking told you, why didn't you just do it? Right. I gave you the knowledge. Why not take it? So yeah, but it's very eye-opening and interesting to see all that.
Oh, cool. I'll have to check it out. Yeah. So what can the readers expect from your new book? Which is a hard question, by the way, when everyone's like, what's your book about? I'm like, the title a bit. Figure it out.
So I walk readers through like a lot of my story. And kind of the first part, there's kind of 3 parts of the book, right? It starts off with my story, kind of the backstory of it. And basically I've been through like a lot of abuse. Went through bullying because of the abuse that, during, middle school, high school years. And then started working at a gas station, right? And which really is a whole other form of just abuse in itself. So went through all of that, was starting my own businesses. And then the next part of the book kind of walks through the steps to my self method. So self is basically your success vision. Like, how do you view success for yourself, right? Because again, especially as entrepreneurs, right? Like as soon as you get online, all the ads that are targeted to you are like, are you making 6, 7, 8 figures? Right. And you're like, barf. I don't necessarily like, I would love money, but like, that doesn't motivate me. And, so, know like, what is your vision of success? And then we move into, your empowered views, right? So like, what are you passionate about? And how are you sharing that with the world in a way that really flows for you? Then we go through your life goals, which is like that bucket list stuff, right? Like what's important to do, like that you actually want to do in this world, or with yourself or with your family, that sort of thing. We have financial mindset, and then friction. Financial mindset, pretty self-explanatory, but like, how do you view your self-worth, right? Like, where are your money goals? All of that stuff around your business. And then friction is taking a look at what is or isn't working in your business, right? So, going back, looking at like your human design stuff, and even just looking at like that surface level stuff of like, are you using the right technology? And, you and I working together, we go through this a lot where, it's like your tech side of things, right, should be working for you. It's like its own employee in your business. So you want to make sure you have like the right tech suite kind of set up to take your time back, right? Time is money. So, but yeah, so it walks you through self, and then kind of how things have turned out for me, and which is great. So,
yeah, I love that. So autobiographical, but it supports your reader in, well, thinking about really hard things. Because
Yeah.
even when you say like, what would you want to what isn't working in your business and what would you want to let go of? Like, I have a really hard time with that.
Yes. Yes.
What do you do to like support your reader and walk clients through that?
Yeah. So it really comes down to looking at, again, like, where do you feel aligned in things, right? Because like if you're doing all of these, like I call them like the shoulds and supposed tos, right? Like that's gonna stop things for you, right? It's gonna block things from happening. Even just kind of like on the woo-woo side of things, right? Like your energy is being like directed in the wrong way, right? So we were just talking about the site project that we're working on. And, you know, like I had said, like, yeah, my assistant is working on this tech part of stuff because my brain right now cannot handle it. Do I know how to do all the things? Absolutely. That is not where I should be focusing right now, right? So knowing like, yeah, can I outsource that to somebody and have everything flow better? Yes, right? And just, you know, again, going back to like knowing yourself and knowing where you're best kind of serving. So
I think outsourcing, especially for personal growth or business growth, maybe more business growth, is a really hard step for someone.
yes.
Like, so we do like banking every 30 days, which you should.
Yeah.
Never used to. So
Right.
my first step was hiring a person, right?
Yes.
That was really hard for me. I was like, who do you trust with banking? Like,
right.
A tough one, right? Like,
Yes.
and it happened to be COVID, and my sister's like, was her yoga studio was closed. She's like, oh, Jenny, take Jenny, like Jenny, something to give. So that was like a first like trust step, and then self-worth, like I am worth not cleaning my bathrooms because I fucking hate it. Like I really hate cleaning bathrooms.
Yes.
So gross.
Yes.
And then a few things I make my husband do, like emptying old containers out the fridge.
Yes.
The smells and weird stuff. Like anyway, you don't have to do these things. You can ask for help, which a lot of us have trouble asking for help.
Yes.
Like, do this if you do that. Like,
yes.
I don't mind doing these things. And that goes beyond household chores or duties. Like that goes into bigger, grander things like tech. I tried to do tech and I would like have missing links and all wobbly and like different. And finally, it's like, just get some good people. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but it will happen over time. Just like, I want to do this. And that person out there is for me, and we'll work toward it. It might take a year or 2 or 3, but we'll figure it out together. And like, it's a huge adjustment for me with like banking, like having more come in and more go out. I was like, this has like doubled since last year, and it's really uncomfortable. But like, you're like, when you're expanding, that's a good thing. So obviously more is coming in and more is going out. It's just very scary.
Yes. yes. So much. Yes. And I think that touches too on that financial mindset of things, right? You know, like I mentioned, I come from, I was going to college basically and dropped out due to depression, and like I was going for all the shoulds and supposed tos, right? And I knew it wasn't the right fit. So I was working at a gas station and, you know, making $10 an hour, right? That was it. You know, my take home at the end of the year for a 40-hour plus week was $18,000. And, you know, so for me, having my own business for years, I struggled with the money side of things, right? Because like my goal of success was like, if I make more than $18,000, like I freaking made it, right? Like
even the gas station.
I'm not at the gas station. I'm making some sort of money. But I never knew how to like charge, because like my worth was like based on this $10 an hour, right? Job. Like that must be what I'm worth. And so it was really just like a big challenge for me. But in the book, you know, I go through that and kind of how I worked through all of that. But it's hard, right? I think too, and you and I have talked about this some, but like your trauma really affects like everything you're doing on these like deep levels, even though you're like, yeah, I worked through it, I'm over it. Like it's not like you really have to like dive in, and work through some deep stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. And trauma and self-worth and all of that looks really differently for everyone. We have on coming up, probably next week, someone who struggled with addiction, struggled like over a decade, like big time, right? But came from a well-off family, had everything, but she was doing what she was always supposed to, right? And pleasing, like I'm sure her stories, and she goes into it really, like there's so many levels of stuff, but just because you're well off doesn't mean you don't have those same struggles. Everyone has gone through some sort of trauma in their life, and it is hard to it's hard to find self-worth. It's really like it's one of it. I think it's like a daily thing that you have to like work on. I actually found the most, and I say this all the time, the most productive books for me are money mindset books because they focus first on self-worth.
Yes. So
it's like almost an accidental thing.
Yes. Well, and it's interesting too, because I think almost even before the fixing of your self-worth is identifying like, oh, I have self-worth issues. Like that was really kind of like my rock bottom, right? And I was like really struggling, and I come to like a suicidal part, and then moving forward kind of had this turning point moment, and I was like, oh, like because I just think I'm not worth it, and like I'm giving myself all of these things that keep reinforcing that, right? So it was really just like I got to fix all this stuff, and that was moving forward. So
did you ever have like coaching, or I'm sure you've done coaching and gotten coaching? Did that help you?
So a lot of my healing journey was really like self-driven, especially towards the beginning. And then in the more recent years, I would say the past 2 years, I've worked, well, maybe now 3, since during COVID. I started working with Natasha Bray, who has this, what's called the Ultimate Up Level Academy. But at the time, it was like a really big, it was like the first really big investment I made in myself, right? And it was like a deep trauma healing program. And I was like, no, if I make this investment, I'm taking it seriously. I'm taking myself seriously. Like this is the time for me to be important in my life, right? And I did the work. It was incredible. Huge life transformations for me happened during that program and afterwards. And then, went on, I've invested, some things in my business as well. But with Natasha, I'm now training to be one of her heart healers. So it's basically like it's like a different kind of therapy. But it deals with basically dealing with your wounds at the time they happened, right? If that makes sense. So like looking back now, right? Like I can say like, oh, like that impacted me in that way, and that's why I thought about it all these years. That was silly. Like, why did I think like that? But like 12-year-old me, like that makes sense, right? Of like why I was thinking that. So like with the heart healing sessions, you go back and basically do this kind of deep dive into the heart and heal where you were at the time. Does that make sense? Hopefully I'm explaining that right. Yeah. But I think it's so important. And, in my book, I made note of like, again, you can't just deal with these kind of like surface level issues. You have to heal the trauma, right? I always say like, you can't be whitewashing your trauma. It's not like, oh, your mindset is poor. Like, well, your mindset might be shit, but like if your subconscious mind is telling you you're worth nothing, right? Like that's what's the result is.
Ignoring anything, ignoring
Right.
money, ignoring self, ignoring trauma, like never, like there's no foundation there.
Yes.
For you to rise.
Yes.
For you to keep building on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, I totally get that. And I think everyone, like I zoned out for a second while you were talking because I was thinking about like incidents, like things I was still listening, but like where like, yeah, my heart hurt in my childhood, and like what did that mean to me, and why did I feel that way?
Right.
And it's like these things happen to us, but it's, you know, you're a victim of circumstance, or you know, most of the time you're a victim of circumstance in your childhood. So
absolutely.
it can happen too.
Yeah. And I think part of
As
it,
an adult, you have a choice to remove yourself from situations.
yes,
No matter how hard.
Yes. And a big part of it too for me was kind of learning about the impacts of like generational trauma, right? Like sexual abuse is something that runs through my family in generations. And the aftermath of that is why the cycle like repeats itself, right? And so, but you can choose to be a cycle breaker. Like you can just be like, no, things are going to be different here, and make that happen. So I think that's really important to recognize. So
for sure. So how's your book going? Because I know you had your big launch recently.
Yes. Yeah. So it hit Amazon bestseller in like 3 different categories, maybe 4. Amazing. So that was great. And then this past week, it just released in like the actual copies release. So now we have paperback and hardcover all out. So very exciting.
Nice. Good for you.
Yeah.
Are you thinking about like, so you write a book and then like a lot of people do like book tours or motivational speaking or lots of like podcasts, like Jenna Kutcher went so nuts. She's like, I've done 77 podcasts in 30 days. And and I was always like, oh, you do that after, but I'm like one of those jump without looking people. I'm like, oh, you have to do all that. And every time I do speak, my books do sell. I sell all of them each time, but like it's so hard.
Yes. Yeah. No, I'm very much like a go with the flow, much like you. Like right. Like I'm just like, yeah, we're good. Like, and like next week I'll be talking more about the book. There was kind of like a weird incident that happened in our area this week. And so it like didn't feel like the right time to be kind of promoting something that had happened. So I was like, no, you know what? I'm glad it came out. It has like a week to kind of percolate. And then next week we'll go kind of lunchy mode again. So yeah, this is our kickoff, Brandi. It's now.
This is it. Today on the podcast, Ilissa launching her book.
Just the book for real.
World. You heard it here first, everyone.
Yep.
No, I like that. I like working with you, and I think you have an ability to support women, and not only that, but just get them excited about like, if I can do this, you can do this. Like, there's no reason why you can't, and just supporting people on their journey. So I think that just comes naturally to you, and not only in a natural way, but like a really genuine way, which a lot of times those like really curated things, it doesn't feel as genuine. I haven't read through. I have your digital copy, I believe. I haven't read through it yet. But I look forward to it. Is it also available in audio?
It's not in audio yet, but it is available on Amazon worldwide.
So I haven't been one to read lately because I don't have a lot of time to pop audio in really quickly while I drive.
Yes. I have totally thought about doing it. I actually did like a promo reel where I read like a chapter just as like a reel, and someone was like, oh, is this from the audiobook? And I was like, I'll put that on my list, but sure. It's coming.
My recording took me 3 months and I cried a lot. One woman was like, she's very like raw. I'm like, yeah, well, it was a raw
Yeah.
But she had also lost her mother, so I think it
Yeah.
brought up natural, like
Yes.
really sad parts of her life for her too.
Yeah.
But like inspirational. But I'm like, it's probably the rawest audiobook out there because I was just like, fuck it. Like if someone was talking behind over my head, I was like, oh, there's the kids again.
Yes. Yes.
I
Yes.
think that's important.
Yeah.
So you can definitely think about recording. It's a neat way it's another neat experience. Time consuming, but cool.
Yes. Yes. I totally agree with that. Totally agree. Yeah.
And everyone's on Fiverr if anyone's thinking about self-publishing, just contact us. We know people will edit on Fiverr for like nothing.
Yes.
Well, like I thought it was good. Like
right.
$200 or $400, I think, like an audio edit for an 8-hour and 19-minute book.
Right.
Like
right.
That's a steal of a deal.
Yes. 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 Yeah. I love that.
Possible. But for now, get Ilissa's book on Amazon, which is also amazing for self-publishing and not that complex. Like a little bit, but not overly.
Right. Yes. No, I worked with an amazing team. I worked with Hillary Jastrom is her name, was my editor and book coach. And Ashley Peterson did like the Amazon promo. She's like an amazing Amazon guru. So but it was great. So yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you for coming on today.
Yeah.
Where can everyone find you on like Instagram and where do you sit?
So it's Ilissa & Co. It's ILISSA. I know, thanks to my mom. It's all spelled funny. But it's elissaandco.com or the same thing on Instagram. But I do business branding and websites and marketing, and I have a all-female team just leading the way. So
Thank you. Oh, and my last and final question, sponsored by Red Bicycle Communications. What is your ideal perfect day? Describe what that would look like in your life.
Oh, God. Well, I will say I am totally a beach girl, right? Like if I told my daughter this summer, like, I'm going to retire at the beach. And she's like, but it's like $4,000 a week, right? Because she thinks like a vacation rental.
Yeah.
What I'm just going to retire to. But yeah, so I would say totally at the beach, just all day long. It's my spot.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll stop recording.
Thank you so much for being here. I sure do appreciate your time. Again, you can check out Oasis Hot Yoga and Spin Studio. They are actually offering, if your children are interested, like older children, I would say 8 and up, if like they offer, they can go with you, depends on the child. A lot of people don't know that. And you have to choose the right class for you and them for sure. But additionally, they're doing like dryland team training and team workshops for mindset work, which I did some mindset work for Gus last year for his hockey. And it is so effective to come up with a mantra for your team and to come up like your slogan, like what you chant in the dressing room, and take people and teams through all that work. It's very effective and it's the greatest space for that. And working together. So she is offering that right now at Oasis. You can contact her. And also our supporters, Red Bicycle Communications. Why? My brain needs to work today. It's my day to work. Please, brain. Here we go. We've gone running and had AG1 and done all the things. So the brain should be like all the way there. Red Bicycle Communications, Oasis Hot Yoga and Spin Studio, Nouveau Laser and Aesthetic Centers, where I'm going today. Oh, such a long story. I'm like starting from square one again, but they're going to help me get back. I know, because they're very supportive. It's all Starbucks' fault. I hate to blame Starbucks, but it was. They switched to, if you don't know, if you can't have gluten, don't drink the oat milk from Starbucks or anywhere because it's no longer gluten-free. The manufacturer changed the oat milk. So frustrating when you thought something. I was being poisoned for like 6 months. Anyway, they're gonna help me get back on track with my skin. And our last sponsor is BioClean Disaster Services, who help you at your very most vulnerable time in your life. They are there for our community, and you can catch Jody on our podcast as well. You can catch Jill on our podcast. You can catch Vanessa from Nouveau on our podcast, all talking about amazing things. You can't catch my sister on our podcast because she still refuses to come on. So, but she does own a beautiful space where she welcomes her guests and clients, and it's full of trees and amazingness, and it's so warm and perfect for this time of year because it's starting to get cold. It's so funny, actually, when we talk about seasons, especially in Canada, like in spring when it starts to get like even the like littlest hot, you're like, I can wear shorts and flip-flops again. And then when fall comes, like it's the same degree that you were wearing shorts and flip-flops in this spring, but like it feels so much colder and you like dress for winter. It's so weird. Anyway, thanks for being here, friend. You can subscribe to our weekly inspiration newsletter and be totally inspired. Try our workshops and classes. We've got free ones. We're launching our new site, brandyhofer.ca, which Ilissa, who was just on, is helping us launch after a long time of it supposed to being launched, and it wasn't, and she saved the day. So she is amazing, and I love her, and I'm glad she came on today. Feel free to reach out anytime at Brandi Hofer Studios. I'm happy to chat on Instagram, and have the best weekend. If you're looking for some time for yourself to relax, release, and unwind, Oasis has the perfect space for you. They offer yoga and spin classes of all levels. Whether you are a beginner or advanced student, Oasis thrives on accommodating all aspects of the practice. Let their serene environment and gracious staff help you in your journey of peace, healing, and strength. Sign up online at www.oasishotyogastudio.com or by downloading the Oasis Hot Yoga Studio app. Feel like yourself. You deserve it.